Alrighty, hello everyone. The 2 minutes that I usually wait for stragglers are up, and we are going to kick off this week's AMA. So, welcome again. For those who are just joining us for the first time or listening for the first time on YouTube, we host these every week on Friday, 11:15 a.m. Pacific. We take live questions via the chat feed, as well as through our designated AMA channels, and we post them all on our YouTube as soon as we can after these are recorded. So thanks so much for joining us this week. This week, our AMA is going to be focused on some really cool quests that we launched this week around the NFT Creator Competition. So now through actually Sunday, we are accepting NFT submissions from artists and creators and builders across the L1 community to submit one unminted NFT to the Lamina1 chain. It will be testamented as part of our upcoming rollout of a V1 NFT Marketplace, as well as some really cool NFT trading, minting, burning capabilities that are coming up on Lamina1. We wanted to use the opportunity to really kind of showcase the creators in our community rather than having you guys just kind of test mint random NFTs. So super excited about the competition, excited to answer questions around that, as well as some tech related questions around the upcoming NFT launch as well. So before I dive into questions, I'm going to give the floor over to the O1 engineering team. It looks like we've got several participants from our kind of internal core team here, just to give a quick update on where we're at and what we've been up to this week on the inside of Lamina1.
Cool. Hey everybody, this is Mahoney. We've got Chris Pearson in here as well, another engineer of ours. And thank you very much, Casey. So we've been very busy internally in terms of engineering for Lamina1, specifically around starting to stand up some of the functionality related to and required for NFT and contract interaction within the network. So that includes both web development kit and gaming SDK development kit on the Unity game engine side. A lot of progress there toward creating this example marketplace that was just mentioned, which will fit into some of our future quest weeks that I'm sure we'll discuss around how you would interact with an NFT on the Lamina1 network. At first, how you would transfer it, how you would interact at a consumer end user level, and then getting into some detail after that about minting and actually creating custom NFTs down the road. So I'm excited about this creator submission process that we're going through right now. It's going to really help us stress test and also get a lot of creative input from the community, which is what creators are good at. So I think that's about it on my end. If Chris, you have anything else, or otherwise, I'll give it back to you.
Thanks, Mahoney. So I feel like that's a pretty good wrap up. So I'm going to dive into some questions. So usually we have the engineering team answer a bunch of these questions, but we do have a couple that I'm going to take myself as sort of orchestrator and quest master of the Lamina1 community. So to start off, Achaldo asked earlier today, hello, until when is the submission for the testnet NFT? Is it March 3rd or March 5th? It is March 5th, Sunday at 6 p.m. I put March 3rd in the tweet because I was not paying attention. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that we have time over the weekend for any of our sort of 9 to 5 creators or people who don't have time during the week to also submit an NFT if they want to. So basically the form will be open until Sunday at 6 p.m., after which we're going to close off submissions, and then we are going to be powering through going through the submissions, evaluating them, making our selects all of next week. So yeah, March 5th, 6 p.m. is the deadline. Next question is from Veronica91, who asked, hello, I made my first NFT, but I have not been a creator for years. I completed the task for creators though. Is it a problem? My answer to anyone who is basically saying like, do I have to be a super established NFT artist to submit a work is no, not necessarily. I think like anyone can be a creator. If you submit a work that's like interesting and is 100% yours and can be verified as yours, like that's not going to disqualify you from being featured or potentially winning the competition, right? Like I think the whole point of this competition, as kind of detailed in the blog post that I posted earlier this week, is about kind of showing like the diversity of what the open metaverse can be. So, in addition to PFPs, like what are your ideas and, your kind of more simple NFTs, what are your ideas for how NFTs can be used to power things like avatars, like interoperable, like 3D objects? Is there music NFTs that you can show us? I mean, right now, we're only submitting still images just because this is very kind of like V1.0 marketplace, and we'll be expanding from there. But we are like really looking for stuff that can kind of showcase everything from the small creators to the large creators to our sort of like utility NFT creators to our artistic NFT creators. And I'm hoping that sort of like whatever we come up with our end selection really does kind of showcase this diversity and this kind of potential of the open metaverse. So basically that's kind of what we're looking for. Clout helps, obviously. Showing off that you're like an interesting, really cool NFT artist helps, but our criteria is definitely open, and we're interested in kind of seeing what people submit before we put any kind of strong rules on that. Next question was from Zeralt, and Jacko Girl, you also asked a couple of questions about this earlier this week, but people are asking, can we submit AI generated NFTs? So yes, we added a question on Monday that basically asks and makes sure that you kind of designate whether or not your NFT was generated by something in AI, whether you use Midjourney to use it or Stable Diffusion to use it. I mean, AI is definitely going to be a feature of content in the open metaverse, right? But I think in general, if you are going to submit an AI work, what we're looking for is like a novel and interesting use case for AI. We're looking for interesting attribution. We're looking for cool ways that you're kind of addressing it. I think like just typing in a simple prompt into Midjourney and submitting that as an NFT probably isn't going to have you win and be featured as a winner of this creator competition, but I don't think using AI will automatically disqualify you at all. And I'm interested to see, cool, interesting AI projects that people are submitting. And, there are spaces within the submission form to kind of write out what your work is about, your process for creating it, other works that you've done. So, I mean, if you've got cool AI work and you explain it properly, like definitely, we want to see it. Next up, Ulf asked, if I don't have a link, can I skip the survey question asking for my website or other examples of my work? So we're asking for that so that we can validate whether or not people's work is actually their own. So we've been working hard behind the scenes to kind of figure out, like, how do we make sure we know that the work that people are submitting is their work? And so that link will help us kind of like, whether it's to your Twitter profile or your OpenSea page or your artist page, or even if it's like, a link to just a Dropbox folder with previous work, like we'll be using that to validate that the art you submitted is actually yours. And if we can't validate that, I'm really reluctant to post it up as an NFT and champion you as like a Lamina1 creator. So anything you can do to help us verify that you in fact made the NFT will certainly improve your chances of winning the competition. All right, so those are kind of like the more kind of like logistical questions that I'm going to take, but now I'm going to kind of dive more into the engineering stuff, and I'm going to tap in Will and Mahoney to answer some of these upcoming questions. So, Jack Girl, you asked this week, without going into a level of detail that might tell scammers how to scam, what kinds of things are the team thinking about to prevent scam, impersonation, IP theft, etc. for NFTs on Lamina1?
Mahoney,
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the things that were just mentioned around kind of attribution of these NFTs, less on a technical side, is definitely going to be extremely important. I do know that, as part of our holistic solution, the existence of our metaverse as a service, and the ability to have kind of creator dashboards in the future, at least in my mind. I think there's some sort of both a validation process of creators' work as their kind of membership of Lamina1 Network. I mean, I guess if you want to extrapolate on that, if you have anything else, but in terms of kind of citizenship of the network, I feel like there's going to be this validation process that's kind of similar to what's taken place on existing marketplaces and stuff like that. But it's kind of a non-answer.
I think Jack Girl kind of followed up after that, being like, if your answer is, similar to the way that places like OpenSea do it, like that's fair. So, yeah, for sure. Jack Girl also had another follow-up question though, where she asked, the metadata files for NFTs can contain just about anything. I got sense from the Creator Competition forum that you're thinking along the lines of a bare bones interface that lets creators get NFTs out there with a minimum of fuss, which in my opinion is great. But are you also thinking of an interface that lets creators generate custom metadata information, for example, references, alt text, artist statements, or whatever?
Absolutely. It may, as part of this creator competition, it's going to be very bare bones, and it's going to be curated and sort of released by the internal team for the sake of noise control, amongst other things. But during our work on the NFT process, we've been looking at both the existing metadata schemas associated with standard ERC 721 contracts. There's some suggested standards from groups like OpenSea specifically that we're looking at in terms of what's been adopted and what's being suggested, as well as future schemas as well that allow you to post more rich metadata, and that would be associated with actual objects. So say if you had an object that was an asset in a game, you'd be able to potentially break that down into a blob in the metadata to represent, say, a character or something in terms of detail. So we're very aware of the importance of that metadata for useful NFTs. And when I say useful, I just mean they serve some function over just the ownership of a piece of art or an object. So the answer is very much yes.
Awesome. So on the developer front, Vimes is kind of asking, so is EVM dev on the C chain supported yet? Also asked, is Solidity contract deployment up and running?
In terms, I can answer the second part. There might be specific EVM development questions here, better for somebody else. But in terms of being able to deploy your Solidity smart contracts on testnet, that is very much doable right now. You'll see if you go to our Testnet Explorer, which is in the Testnet portal, that there are already several contracts out there, as well as contracts supporting alternate tokens in the testnet network. So if you want to see examples of that, they are on the Testnet Explorer. One thing that we are looking into right now is being able to verify and publish the contract information itself for verifying source code. That process will just kind of hang for you at the moment, but something that's actively being worked on. And then in terms of EVM development, if there's any specifics, that might be a better question for the other guys.
Will Pearson, any answers to his EVM dev on the C chain supported yet?
I mean, it is. I mean, to the extent that Mahoney just expanded on, you can absolutely develop on the EVM at the moment. We don't currently have live documentation, and so we kind of haven't put it in front of the community to start development on. And I think we have an upcoming week to do just that. But like as Chris said, you can totally develop against it. And we should have some documentation up to help you do that soon. In addition to the Explorer that we launched to help support that development. I would say, like, just to remember that we will be doing, testnet resets, at least one more before BetaNet, and then we'll do another reset at BetaNet. So any development you do should be done with that in mind. That after a reset, you will most likely need to redeploy whatever work you've done on the EVM, at least until we get to BetaNet. And then once we're at BetaNet, you shouldn't have to worry about resets anymore until mainnet.
Thanks, guys. Enotic asked this morning, do you plan to implement some cross-chain bridges, for example, for transfer NFT from other chains?
Yes, definitely. This is a huge part of kind of our mission and vision, making sure that our network isn't a walled garden and it's interoperable with the rest of the Web3 ecosystem. We're doing that via we're probably going to be partnering with an existing bridge solution, and we're kind of looking through the space at the moment to see which are the most secure and the most performant and the most open. Keeping in mind that, anytime you introduce a bridge to another chain, you potentially introduce a security vulnerability, as many of you may have seen in the past. So it is something we absolutely are going to do. We're just being very careful in choosing the exact bridging technology we're going to use. And then that's likely going to be done similar to a lot of our other metaverse services via dedicated subnets specifically for those bridges.
Great. And I've got two sort of ones that I'm going to take after this. So Amy Chains asked, unfortunately, I cannot achieve the NFT creator task. I have no project to submit. Does it work if I scan my kid's drawing? So my short answer to that is, I mean, if you want to scan your kid's drawing and submit it as like a young, early open metaverse creator, I'd say go for it. But I wanted to answer this question like a little less tongue-in-cheekly as well, to just kind of remind the community that, like, if you're not an NFT artist or an NFT creator, you don't have to submit for this week's quests. We are definitely going to be coming up soon, I think, with a lot more kind of like dev heavy tasks in our upcoming Crew 3 quests that a lot of creators might not want to do, or it might just not be kind of like worth the time and effort. So I think in general, like, some of the quests are going to be for creators, some of the quests are going to be for developers, some of the quests are going to be for our OG members who joined us in the beginning, some of our quests are going to be for new followers. Like, the idea is that, like, you don't need to do every single quest. And we would also, as members of the selection and submission committee, really appreciate like as few spam forms as possible. In general, like, basically if you just submit a screenshot with no context or anything like that, like, you're going to automatically get disqualified, and it's quite technically, like quite literally only 25 XP, which you can very easily make up for in coming weeks. So to anyone who's like, oh, I can't participate in this, like, it's fine. Like, we've got a long road to testnet, and you know, I think we're going to all make sure that everyone who's participated and been with us for the journey definitely will get, you know, incentives and stuff to back their participation with us. So don't worry. And then Valbon21 asked, will we have a list of the selected projects or a place to get to know them? I can't wait to see where this early community is going. So yes, 100%. So we've got a little bit of a rollout plan. So basically we're going to have like kind of 2 weeks of rollout for NFT Marketplace and like EVM related quests and tasks. The first week is going to sort of feature our first batch of creators, and you're basically going to go into the marketplace. You're going to be able to kind of like buy and trade an NFT on that marketplace, and attached to that marketplace, we're going to have, you know, sort of information about who's that artist, you know, what is this work titled, where can you find the rest of that work. So it'll be a really good platform to kind of like not only kind of see these NFTs, but also kind of get to know the artists. And accompanying that, I'm going to be doing some sort of features on the community where once a day, we're going to really give each selected creator a platform. We're going to show them off. We're going to show off their work and show what they've been doing. And that's also going to extend out to our Twitter and our LinkedIn and a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, our community is pretty big. It's growing. We've got a lot of really cool and builders and investors and other artists and things like that. And so we're definitely going to use, for all of the winners, we're going to use our platform to really amplify those creators and kind of spin the rest of the L1 community around them. So I think that's like a really good incentive to sort of like submit your artwork. And also it's a good way that I really want to extend some of the love that we've gotten from you guys kind of back towards you guys as well. So that's kind of the point of this competition. And yeah, so we're also excited to get to know you and showcase your work for this upcoming week. So that's actually it for our creator competition questions. So if you have any more, feel free to drop them in the comment section to the side of this voice channel. But in the meantime, we also got a couple of more kind of general questions about testnet, the Lamina1 engineering platform, vision, etc. So I'm going to get to those. And again, if you have any more questions about the competition, feel free to drop them in and we can circle back to those in a little bit. So Rytune asked, you know, what game engines does Lamina1 use? Unity, Unreal? Figured this would be a good place for us to just kind of hint at some of the stuff that's coming up after NFT week.
Very cool. Yeah, so right now our initial gaming SDK support is for the Unity game engine via C#. Alongside that, we will also have a JavaScript SDK that I'm very much interested in keeping in parity in terms of feature support on both. Both will be able to interact with our C chain directly as you normally would on any EVM compatible chain. And we're also specifically focused on solutions within the Unity SDK that are open source and kind of battle tested from experience and use. In the existing ecosystem. And I also just want to point out that one of our goals with the tools isn't necessarily just to get you connected to our chain, but also to erase a lot of the friction that, again, game devs face when they jump into this Web3 world coming from classic game development. In terms of an Unreal SDK, it's obviously one of our two main game development solutions that are out there. And we do plan on supporting Unreal development as well. Again, with feature parity. You know, it's basically an actor in Unreal versus a game object in Unity. There's obviously a lot more in the creator community, at least, usage of Unity, so that's our main focus. But we are also interested in the needs of Unreal devs as we approach that as a solution. So
great. Zero Zero Kira asked, there are a lot of layer 2s out there, and it seems like L2s and especially ZK rollups are very hot and becoming more leading blockchain technology. He's basically asking sort of like, why start where we did with a layer 1 rather than kind of like following that trend?
It's a good question. I'll take this one. So ZK, first of all, ZK rollups are, they're still a very active and kind of new approach to scalability in the space. So because they aren't as mature just yet, and ZK, zero knowledge cryptography in general, isn't as generalized as we'd like it to be, it's just not an approach we want to adopt just yet. Eventually, we might actually use some of those roll-up approaches internally within the L1 platform and ecosystem later on down the line. But for now, what we really wanted to be able to provide was, number one, a really secure and dedicated layer 1 that was really focused on creators and developers, and easily allowed them to launch their own EVM environments on which they could have their own dedicated resources. So in order to do that, we just thought it would be, after analyzing the different options, it just seemed to make the most sense to ensure that we had a very secure performant layer 1 that could enable this layer 2 development on top of it, and that we would be able to scale out with additional functionality that was maybe more generalized and maybe not applicable to ZK rollups, at least in the short term. So it is technology we're aware of. We'll probably look at adopting internally as well, but this is kind of just the path we chose to get things up and running as soon as possible.
Awesome. Lev Borisovich asks, it's very interesting to hear from the team recommendations on the functionality test, how the testers should act in their opinion, how many times a day to make transactions, transfers, etc. Is it enough to use each function once and wait for additions? I ask this to the fact that it may be necessary to seriously load the test network, and we need to make as many transactions as possible, or, for example, arrange a test load for the whole community within 20 to 60 minutes. How do you guys feel about seriously loading the test network?
hey, Will, maybe we have a chaos monkey week in the quest.
Yeah, we've talked about doing
week.
this. Yeah. The thing is, we obviously, we do want to do something like this, and we need to at some point. One thing to keep in mind is we don't want to hand out any tools or anything that would encourage people to abuse the network and spam the network prior to there being like real economics in place to help prevent that, like will be the case in mainnet. So yeah, we're definitely going to we definitely want to encourage the community to help us, really stress test the network, and we're trying to find a good way to do that. In the short term, we're really focused on making sure that we're capturing kind of the usability issues first before we start looking at performance. So getting people's feedback on actually using the network, making sure it's doing, all the base functionality that our creators need.
Shoot, did Will just cut out for all the rest of y'all? Or was that?
Might have lost him.
All right. Well, sorry, Will, you cut out there, but you kind of cut out at the end of a full, now you kind of cut out at the end of a full sentence, but yeah, if there's more that you want to get into, you definitely cut out.
No, I think that's it. I think like for now, we encourage you guys to just use the network as you think, like as you need. So the quests, I think, are a good guidance for how much we're actively pushing you to use the network. And then if you're doing any type of more organic development or creations, like feel free to do that as well. We don't really have an upper limit at the moment. We're not trying to limit the transactions that are going through the network. But we're not like actively at this stage pushing you guys to really stress the network. It'll come though. Yeah, I think it'll be fun to really get everyone involved in trying to see what the network's capable of. Just not today.
I'll flag Chaos Week in our upcoming planning spreadsheet, and we can slot it in when that happens. I can't wait for that. So CT Pax asks, with whom can I talk about mutual cooperation related to startup projects in the field of P2E games? Very specific question. I actually can kind of take this one if we want to. So I think the easiest way to do it is to either fill out our builders form, which is in pinned links, or to email us at ecosystem@lamina1.com. I mean, we are definitely talking to partnerships and potential partners for Lamina1. I know that that's like a big part of Tony's job and Will's job, and we've got a biz dev team on Lamina1 that are definitely trying to find these sort of projects. I also want to flag that if you're interested in potential funding for your startup project, the Lamina1 Ecosystem Fund currently is accepting applications for creators who are wanting to potentially launch experiences on L1. So definitely check that out. It's on the front page of our website. We've got a designated L1 EF chat in Discord that we can kind of talk about. And I want to be hosting a L1 Ecosystem Fund AMA over the next couple of weeks. So definitely stay tuned on that. But either email us, fill out the builders form, or fill out a L1 Ecosystem Fund application, I would say are the best kind of 3 steps you could take for that. And then finally, our last question, unless anyone wants to drop something in the comment section, is from Lamania, who asks, regarding the Crew 3 award, is it true that it's only for the top 200? Now, I wanted to answer this because I have no idea where that random number came from. Like, no, it's not. Like, the Crew 3 rewards are not for the top 200. So basically, we have a post on the testnet giveaway pinned to testnet updates. But basically, we're going to be selecting a handful of winners at the end of testnet based on the number of Crew 3 points you accrue. So basically, the number of points you accrue match up directly to the number of sort of like testnet giveaway tickets you get. Winners are going to receive, everything from swag packages. We want to give kind of like special badges and access to those people so that they can maybe kind of be early tester groups, all of that. But kind of the larger thing that we're also working towards with these Crew 3 quest systems and with testnet in general is we have some engagement tracking bots going on behind the scenes, like a lot of other sort of like Web3 platforms right now, where we're keeping a close eye on like who the community members are that are really engaging and helping the community out. Crew 3 is obviously a part of that, but it's also like your activity on the Discord, your helpfulness, the ideas that you're sharing, all of that kind of stuff. And basically that engagement is also being considered for future opportunities everywhere from incentivization to brand ambassadors. Now, I'm going to hedge a little bit on this because the L1 internal team is still figuring out exactly how this is going to work. But I will say that like incentivization is on the table. We want to make sure that people who are participating in testnet do get something out of it in betanet, mainnet, and beyond. So apologies for being vague about this. Anyone who's, kind of in the crypto Web3 space can probably kind of understand why I have to be. But yeah, like incentivization is coming. It's not just going to be for the top 200. We don't really have like an arbitrary cutoff for that. But you know, if you're participating in quests, if you're participating in testnet, if you're participating in conversations, like basically we see you. And I also think in general too, on the other hand of that, and I've gone through this a couple of weeks during our AMAs where we also, you know, through that engagement bot, we can track our people are who are botting or who are doing multiple accounts or who are spamming and scamming. And we're also going to make sure that, you know, this Crew 3 quest competition and everything is fair and that we are just rewarding the people who are, you know, playing fairly, right? So we are keeping track. We've got all sorts of cool engagement tracking bots. Our Defiance moderators are really helping us out with that. So yeah, not only the top 200, and yeah, we're excited for you guys to kind of stick with us. All right, it looks like people are asking, okay, so Turbo Peppa asks, where can I send more NFT arts? I want to share several designs with the L1 logo. I'm working on L1 cards. So right now I will say we're only letting people submit one form because we didn't want it to turn into chaos. But Turbo Peppa, I am going to DM you after this, and maybe we can kind of talk out, like if you want to amend your current submission, we can figure out how you might want to do that. I'm happy to work together on that. All right, it looks like Jacko Girl is typing, so I'm gonna wait with bated breath to see what she's saying. Okay, cool. I'll also hit up you, Jacko Girl, to see what we can do. Yeah, awesome. Well, that is all of our questions for today. Again, NFT competition, get your submissions in by 6 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday for consideration. Next week, a bunch of quests just for a preview is going to be related to the new L1 C Chain Explorer, which many of you know we kind of soft launched a couple of weeks ago, but there are a lot of really cool functionalities in this new Explorer that I've been educating myself on and that we really want to dive in together, especially as we're heading into EVM and smart contracts and NFTs. So basically next week is going to be all about Explorer, learning how to use it, learning how to engage with it and pull up source code with it and all of the fun things you can do with an Explorer. We're going to have an accompanying education post for beginners who are like, how the heck do I use this other than just kind of like seeing a live feed of transactions? So I think it'll be a good week, and that'll give us a week to go through all of the amazing creator submissions. And then we're going to go live with our first NFT EVM week on March 13th. So really looking forward to it. And thank you guys so much. Jacko Girl, Turbo Peppa, keep an eye out for your DMs. I'll hit you up right after this. All right. Thank you guys so much, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.